Radio is an intimate storytelling medium, and when it bonds with one of the finest storytellers of our times, the result is sheer magic. During these times of social distancing, All India Radio hopes to bring you some comfort, some connection, with an exclusive story reading series, Bonding over the Radio. Coming up is the pick of the day, voiced by the author Ruskin Bond himself.
Miss Babcock's Big Toe. If two people are thrown together for a long time, they can become rather close friends or sworn enemies. Thus it was with Tata and me when we both went down with mumps and had to spend a fortnight together in the school hospital. It wasn't really a hospital, just a 5-bed ward in a small cottage on the approach road to our prep school in Chota Simla. It was supervised by a retired nurse, an elderly matron called Miss Babcock, who was all but stone deaf. Miss Babcock was an able nurse, but she was a fidgety, fussy person, always dashing about from ward to dispensary to her own room, and as a result, the boys called her Miss Shuttlecock. As she couldn't hear us, she didn't mind. But her hearing difficulty did create something of a problem, both for her and for her patients. If someone in the ward felt ill at night, he had to shout or ring a bell, and she heard neither. So someone had to get up and fetch her. Miss Babcock, though, devised an ingenious method of waking her in an emergency. She tied a long piece of string to the foot of a sick person's bed, then took the other end of the string to her own room, where, upon retiring for the night, she tied it to her big toe. A vigorous pull on the string from the sick person, and Miss Babcock would be wide awake. Now, what could be more tempting than this device? At least to a schoolboy. The string was tied to the foot of Tata's bed, and he was a restless fellow, always wanting water, always complaining of aches and pains, and sometimes, out of plain mischief, he would give several tugs on that string until Miss Babcock arrived with a pill or a glass of water. "You'll have my toe off by morning," she complained. "You don't have to pull quite so hard." And what was worse, when Tata did fall asleep, he snored to high heaven, and nothing could wake him. I had to lie awake most of the night, listening to his rhythmic snoring. It was like a trumpet tuning up, or a bullfrog calling to its mate. Fortunately, a couple of nights later, we were joined in the ward by Bimal, a friend of mine who had also contracted mumps. One night of Tata's snoring, and Bimal resolved to do something about it. "Wait until he's fast asleep," said Bimal, "and then we'll carry his bed outside and leave him on the veranda." We did more than that. As Tata commenced his nightly imitation of an all-wind instrument, we pushed up his bed as gently as possible and carried it out into the garden, putting it down beneath the nearest pine tree. "It's healthier outside," said Vimal, justifying our action. "All this fresh air will cure him of his snoring." Leaving Tata to serenade the stars, we returned to the ward and enjoyed a good night's sleep. So did Miss Babcock. In fact, no one slept because we were woken by Miss Babcock, running around the ward, screaming, "Where's Tata? Where's Tata?" There was no sign. Instead, a large black-faced langur sat at the foot of the bed, showing us its teeth in a grin of disfavor. Had Tata been reinvented and become a langur? Tata's gone, gasped Miss Babcock. He must be a sleepwalker too, said Vimal. Maybe the leopard took him, I said. But just then there was a commotion in the shrubbery at the end of the garden and a lot of shouting. Help! Help! And Tata emerged from the bushes, followed by several lithe, long-tailed langurs, merrily giving chase. Apparently he'd woken up at the crack of dawn to find his bed surrounded by a gang of inquisitive simians. They had meant no harm, but Tata had panicked and made a dash for life and liberty, running into the forest instead of into the cottage. Well, we got Tata and his bed back into the ward, and Miss Babcock took his temperature and gave him a dose of salts. Oddly enough, in all the excitement, no one asked how Tata and his bed had travelled in the night. And strange to say, he did not snore the following night, so maybe the pine-scented night air really helped. Needless to say, we soon recovered from the mumps, and Miss Babcock's big toe received a well-deserved rest.
There is Payal Singh from Mumbai who addresses you as Rusty.
Right.
She says, I still remember my first story of yours, A Tiger in the House, though my favorite is The Night Train at Deoli. Just
Right.
one request, sir, if you could recite some of your wonderful poems.
I'd love to. I've got a couple of short ones right here. Well, this one is called, you might remember it, it's called If Mice Could Roar.
Mm-hmm.
If mice could roar, and elephants soar, and trees go up in the sky, if tigers could dine on biscuits and wine, and the fattest of men could fly,
Mm-hmm.
if pebbles could sing, and bells never ring, and teachers got lost in the post, if a tortoise could run, and losses be won, and bullies be buttered on toast, if a song brought a shower, and a gun grew a flower, this world would be nicer than most. I hope you liked that.
I'm sure Payal would love this. Then there is young Ishita Gedia from Ahmedabad who addresses
Yes.
you as Dear Hip-Hop Nature Boy of Our Hearts.
Yes, I did write a long poem called Hip Hop Nature Boy, and maybe she has it. Huh?
Uh-huh.
So I don't have it with me at the moment, but maybe I'll find it for you.
Yes.
Otherwise, I can read a shorter one.
She
Okay,
says,
right.
listening to your stories in your own voice is a most memorable experience of my life, something I'm going to cherish all my life. She requests you
thank
to
you.
narrate your story, The Canal, from the book Secrets. Then she says, love you, thank you, AIR.
Well, they're all thanking AI, so that's wonderful. Thank you.
Then 12-year-old Gayatri from Bangalore wants to know,
Yes.
what made you write stories for children?
Well, that's a long story in itself, but when I started out as a writer, I took myself very seriously, and I was writing stories for adults and grown-ups, and it wasn't so much fun. So when I got a bit older, I thought, now I'll write for people who are younger, and it was more fun. So one reason I write for children is because I'm enjoying it. And also I get so many interesting responses, like just as you have written or have responded to me, so have many others. And this is something that I find happens with the children. They write back, or they get in touch, or they tell you if they like your story or if they didn't like it. And they can be very good critics too. Sometimes adults are too busy to get in touch with the writers they read. There's somehow more contact with a young reader than there is with an adult reader. At least that's what I found.
In fact, the vast majority of responses coming in are from children who are then
Yes.
using some parents' Facebook.
Yes, sometimes those and their parents might have read me when they were children.
Yeah, those are also
That
coming in. My father or my mother was a fan too.
Yes.
And an overwhelming number of people have written in for your birthday. So they have all wished you happy birthday in advance.
Thank you so much. And this year it will be a quiet birthday at home, of course, since we're all locked down. But my granddaughter, she's there in the kitchen. She's already making a cake. So I think I'll probably go through 2 or 3 cakes before birthday comes round. Well, next time you can come and share my cake with me.
Oh my God, sir, you don't know that there's an avalanche of people waiting to go to Mussoorie. You can't go by the responses.
I'll have to make a giant cake.
Now there is M.M. Sharma from New Delhi.
Yes.
I'm over 60, he writes, but still, your first story about your father touched me as I also lost my father when I was 16. And still get teary-eyed when I listen to any nice anecdotes on fathers. Thank you, Mr. Bond.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma.
Then there is Ovi Dhoke. I hope I got the name right. Ovi is an 8-year-old from Pune. Why is there no storytelling period in our school? The child asks, and this is very pertinent.
Yes, that's funny. There should be a storytelling period in schools. Even when I went to school, we didn't have storytelling periods. In fact, even our English papers, we had to write essays. In those days, not stories. It's only now I think you can write stories in school in your exams, but at my time there was only essays. And I always preferred writing stories, actually. So when the final exams came, and instead of writing an essay, I wrote a story. They didn't give me very good marks. So I got very angry and I said, well, from now on, I'm going to write stories.
There is Som Prakash, a class 8 student from Ghaziabad. He too wishes you a happy birthday in advance, and he writes, I especially enjoyed your story of Henry the Chameleon. I request you to narrate a story from the book At School with Ruskin Bond. And then he has a question. Do you enjoy reading non-fiction?
Yes, I do. Very much. In fact, I like reading biographies of other authors or of interesting people. Only yesterday I finished reading a biography of Edgar Allan Poe, who wrote those fantastic stories of the supernatural. And, he had a very strange life himself, and mad, in fact. So sometimes the biographies are fascinating, not just of writers, but of artists or of anyone who's done something interesting in life.
Then we have Akshita Parekh. She's 27 and she's from Kolkata. She says she was 15 or 16 when she read The Night Train at Deoli and she fell in love with your work. Then there's a very cute last line in a long message. He is an awesome ground-to-earth person, which I'm thinking is probably she has made a sandhi of a down-to-earth and a grounded person. And she has thanked AIR profusely.
And thank you for your observations. Night Train at Deoli, I think you mentioned. That's right. It's a story that people still ask me about it and I want to know what happened to the girl on the platform. And I have to say, well, I don't know. She might still be there, but she'd be about my age.
That was storyteller par excellence, Ruskin Bond, reading his hand-picked story of the day in our exclusive series, Bonding over the Radio. A presentation of the Central English Features Unit. This came to you from the External Services Division of All India Radio.